Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, and today we are here with another tutorial on SonarQube. So if you have seen my previous tutorials, we have seen how to set up SonarQube as a Docker container, but in that tutorial what we have done is we have set up a simple Docker container of SonarQube. So we have not set up a Postgres database separately for it. So there has been queries on how we can set up a SonarQube in Docker with a backend Postgres database. So what we are going to do in this tutorial is we are going to configure two services as a Docker in the Docker Compose file. So we will write the whole Docker Compose file, and one section will be for Postgres database and one section for SonarQube, and we'll link it together. So once we run the Docker Compose file, Docker Compose up, you will have a SonarQube running with the backend Postgres database. So I'll be giving the whole details on the GitHub location in the video description, so you can download the Docker Compose file and you can just run Docker Compose up and you will have a SonarQube running. Okay, so before we get started, I would request you to subscribe to my channel if you have not done yet, and like this video, share and comment. So in order to start, I have a Docker machine. Okay, so this is a CentOS machine in which the Docker is installed. So if you don't know how to set up Docker, please check my tutorials. I also give the link in the video description. Okay, so this machine is a part of Docker Swarm. So but I'm using this as a simple Docker machine. Okay, so even though it's part of Docker, it's just one of the node, but I'm not going to use a Docker stack setup, or I'm not going to use a service. Okay, we are going to run a Docker Compose in this tutorial. Okay, and you can also refer the documentation for SonarQube on some of the prerequisites what we need. So what we need is we have to set some configuration on this Linux machine. Since that's CentOS, we need to set some vmax count, some fs.file-max settings and ulimit settings. If you don't set these things, what will happen is your container will fail. Okay, because if your system does not match with these settings. Okay, so let's start with this one first. Okay, so let me copy this, let me run this command here. Okay, let me run this. Let me run the other two commands as well. Okay, so this is the prerequisite to run the SonarQube. And I will give all these details in the video description, so you can copy these commands from there. Okay, and if you go to this SonarQube documentation, you can also see how we can need to configure some of the database settings, which will use it for the Compose file. Okay, but don't worry, I'll be going through all these details one by one. Okay, so let me open a text editor. Okay, so if you have seen, I'm using Sublime Text, so if you have any other text editors, you can use that as well. Okay, so let's start writing the Docker Compose file. Okay, and once we complete this here, we'll copy that to the CentOS machine. So always the Docker Compose file start with the version. So I'm going to use a version. So I'm going to use both 3. So depending upon your Docker Compose, you can use it. Okay, so I'm just giving version 3.3. Okay, and the next section would be for services. Okay, and we are going to have two services in this Docker Compose. One will be for DB and other one will be for SonarQube. Okay, now we can write what is needed for in the DB section. Okay, for the database, I'm going to use the image, which is Postgres. Okay, and which is 12-Alpine. So you can also use the different versions, but I'm using this Alpine image. So if you don't know how to check this image versions, what I would suggest is like go to hub.docker.com and you can search for SonarQube, and in the tag, you know, it will list you all the image versions. So from there you can select which image is good for you. Okay. And the next part is I want to set some environmental variables. Okay. Okay, it should be not under DB. It should be the same line of image. Okay, so you have to be very careful on this how these words are arranged. Otherwise, you know, the YAML file will not be working correct. Okay, so you need to have an environment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a Postgres user, which is a Sonar user. Okay, so username is Sonar. Okay, and the password is also going to be Sonar, and also the DB name is going to be Sonar. Okay. In the next section would be like I want to set up some volume. Okay, so here I'm going to use Docker managed volume. If you want, you can use mount volume as well. So here I'm selecting Postgres underscore data, which should be a volume. Okay, and it's going to map to var lib Postgres hyphen data slash data. Okay, this is the Postgres database data. Okay, I also want to define a network. Okay, so I'm going to use networks and it's going to be SonarQube -net. Okay, you can use any name, so it's not mandatory that you need to use SonarQube -net. But you should make sure that you are using the same network when we are writing the section for SonarQube services. Okay, otherwise the connection between DB and SonarQube will not happen. Okay, so this is all for the database section. So if you run this commands, you know, in the Docker compose file, you will have a Postgres DB running with the user Sonar, password Sonar, and database name as Sonar, and it will be copying all the database contents data into this volume. Okay. Now from the SonarQube side, similar to database, the first part is the image. Okay, so I'm going to use the SonarQube community image. Okay, so if you have a license, you can use a different image as well. So I'm going to use the community version of SonarQube. Okay, and this is a very important parameter what we are running now. Okay, this is called the depends on. Okay, so what it says, this service SonarQube depends on the service DB. Okay, so this is very important because then only the SonarQube will be integrating or linked to the database Postgres. Okay, so you have to make sure this is correctly mapped, because this name DB should be exactly as this service name for DB. If you don't use the same name, it will not be working. Okay, so the next section I want to write something about environments again. Okay, so similar way how we use the Postgres user password DB, I'm going to set some SonarQube environment variable. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to connect using the user Sonar. Okay, which we created in the Postgres. Okay, and also the URL for the Postgres DB. This is a Postgres SQL, which is the database. Okay, and the database will be in the //db/sonar. Okay, because the DB name is Sonar. Okay, and we are using the service DB, so this is why the //db is there. Okay, and the password for user is Sonar. Okay, and the next part is like we need to set some ports. Okay, so the port for SonarQube is 9000, so I'm going to set the same thing for host and also for the container. So I'm going to set both as 9000. Okay, and I also want to set some volumes for SonarQube as well. So if you see, I'm going to set SonarQube_conf, which is also a Docker managed volume, and I'm going to map the location /opt SonarQube/conf. Okay, so this is from the Docker container, it will be mapped to your host. Similar way for data and extension and plugins, I'm also creating some volumes. Okay, if you don't know what do you mean by these volumes, please check my tutorial on Docker volumes and persistent storage. Okay, And again we have to set the networks. So we are going to say use the same SonarQube-net, so both DB and SonarQube services are on the same page. Okay, so the next step is like we are done with this services configuration for database and SonarQube, but since we have used the networks as SonarQube-net and also some volumes, we have to configure that as well. Okay, so if you see these networks and volumes are in the same line as services, okay, because this has to be here. Okay, then only if you don't configure the networks and volumes here, you will not be able to run this Docker Compose file. You will get a message like these are not configured. Okay, so these names also should be similar what we have used inside. So we are done with the Docker Compose file. Let's copy this content. Okay, let's go to our Docker machine. Okay, and let's create one Docker Compose file. Okay, so if you see, I will have a folder called Sonar, so I'll go inside that. There is no files there, so let me create one file as Docker Compose.yaml. Okay, and let me paste these things. Okay, so this is the okay, unfortunately it is not copied completely, so let me exit out from this. Okay, let me recreate the file again. Let me go back to the Sublime text. Let me copy this. Okay, I don't know why it is not copying completely. Let me see it. Okay, yeah, it is copied. I think it was done below there, so I just move the cursor, so it's showing up there. Okay, so it is there, so the whole content is there. So we need to save this file. Okay, so if I read docker compose.yaml, you can see it's have the whole content what we written in there. Okay, now to run this docker compose file, you just need to call docker compose up. Okay, so let's wait for this to be completed. So you are getting this message like Docker engine you are running is in Docker Swarm mode, because this Docker machine which I'm using is part of a Docker Swarm. If you are just using a single Docker machine, you will not be getting that message. Okay, so I did not run it in the detached mode, that's why we are able to see all these logs. Okay, so we can see what is happening actually on the screen. Okay. We'll also see how we can run it in the detached mode, and also we'll try to create a file not in the name of Docker Compose. Okay, if you can use a different name, and we can map that file as well. Yeah, let's wait for this to be completed. Okay, it may take a couple of minutes. Okay, so it's creating the database schema. Okay, so it's almost done, so we can see the port 9000, it's mapped. Okay, you can see the message SonarQube is up, right? So I think it's almost completed. Okay, let's go to the browser, and you can use the IP address of your host machine and the port 9000. Okay, you can run that. So you can see now the SonarQube is created, right? So we can see the SonarQube page, and you can log in clicking on login. Okay, and the username would be admin, and the password will be also admin. Since it's the first time, we can log in with admin and admin. Okay. So we are inside SonarQube now. So we are logged in. You can see I'm logged in with administrator, right? You can create project. You can type the project name. Okay, and you can set up the project. So if you want, you can generate some token. Okay. Okay, so you have a project created now. So you can see the test project is there. So we are not going to talk about how we can integrate this. I have a tutorial on how to set up SonarQube with Jenkins, so please have a look there so you can integrate SonarQube with Jenkins. Okay, so let me go back to this machine. So if I exit from this, okay, so it will stop the both containers because we run the containers Docker Compose without a detached mode. Okay, so if I run docker ps-a, you can see there are two containers running, right? Not running, it's already exited. It was running before. Okay, and if I go to docker volume ls, you can see there are volumes which created for SonarQube, right, and Postgres data, which we can access under /var/volume/lib /var/lib/volumes and that volume name. So if we go to /var/lib/docker/volumes, you'll be able to see these folders, right? So you can go there and you'll be able to access all this data from there. Okay, so the benefit is like you can back up all this data, so even though your SonarQube is crashed, your container is crashed, you can get all those configuration back. Now let me delete both these containers. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we have the file under sonar, right? Here we use the docker compose as the name, right? So let's rename this. Okay, so let me rename this to sonar_compose. So you see that now the name is docker. So if I run docker compose, you will not be able to do this because there is no docker compose.yaml file. Okay, the file name is sonar_compose, right? So what you need to do is docker-compose, and you need to use the argument f. Okay, and you need to -f, and you need to call this file, and for detached mode you can run -d. Okay, I'm sorry, I think we have missed the up because we have to call that, then only the SonarQube will be up. Okay, container will be created, so you can see it's creating SonarQube and DB and SonarQube. So let me clear out the screen and let me now, if you see you list the Docker containers, you can see there are two containers running. Okay, because it's running in the detached mode. And if I go back to the SonarQube, you can see I think it's still coming up. We'll just wait. Okay, it's starting up, so we just need to wait. Okay, so you can see that we already have one project which is test, right? So this test project is created in our previous instance, and we are using the same the Docker volumes, right, which is mapped to this Docker containers as well. That's why we have all the previous configurations. So that's the benefit. So we can use the persistent volumes here. Okay, so that is how we can do this containers running with the backend Postgres database. So we can check the volume of Postgres to see how the database is saved. You can make a copy of that as a backup. Okay, so I think this information is very clear to you, right? So I will put this Docker Compose file in the GitHub, so you can download it from here. You can go through it, all the details. You can make changes as you need. Okay, So that's all for this tutorial, and I hope it's informative for you, and I like to thank you for watching, and kindly subscribe to the channel, like this video, share and comment as much as possible.